Identities, both physical and digital, play a role in our day-to-day lives as we access financial and government services. As more businesses and transactions are conducted remotely online, digital identities are playing an increasing role in accessing services. Both proving and verifying the identities of those we deal with online becomes more important with the increase in fraud and identity theft. Our identities, both physical and digital, are crucial, so much so that the ability to prove one's identity is a fundamental and universal human right according to ID2020.org. This closely follows Article 6 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights that states everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. In civil societies, individuals, governments, and financial institutions form relationships based on identity and identity assertions, either physical or digital. Increasingly, transactions are moving online where fraudsters and are more prevalent and the security perimeter is more porous. With digital identity, the ability of fraudsters to gain access to identity data increases as they gain access to remote networks and data. Maintaining trust and confidence in identity assertions is crucial when moving from physical to digital identities. However, our current digital identity framework is fragmented, with different jurisdictions leveraging different technologies and providers. At the same time, there are many different organizations outlining standards for digital identities. Therefore, we hypothesize that a universal standard regulatory framework for digital identities may increase confidence and trust in identities, facilitating secure financial transactions between stakeholders. Our main purpose was to validate assumptions around the risks and benefits of a comprehensive physical and digital identity infrastructure. Now I hand it over to Amardeep to discuss our methods and results and proposals.
Research methodology that went into this project, we looked at many different sources as well, including ID 2020, DAC, goodid.org, and we also consulted a number of different user surveys and online data journals to better understand what exactly is the market's feelings towards digital identities and what kind of opinions and thoughts the companies have as well. We also gained a lot of good insights from several of the speakers in the industries, had discussions with people including people from Shopify, Desjardins, Express Technologies, and so on. We also finally consulted reports and other consumer surveys to better gauge the feelings for Canadians towards digital identities. And what we come to a conclusion as part of our understanding with this research is that most people do feel comfortable with using digital identities, at least in Canada. 76% of those surveyed felt that they were comfortable in using digital identities for government processes, 74% for using healthcare, 75% for finance, and at least 63% for commerce. That includes e-finance and transactions as well. It's a good picture of what we've seen so far. But of course, with these opportunities come several challenges. And what we've seen from our research so far is that while the critical mass adoption of digital identities is a huge opportunity, Canadians understand that the convenience that digital ID would bring is quite great, but some of them still worry that it won't be as secure as traditional or physical documentations. This is why it's necessary to find a way to bridge both physical and digital identification systems. Another opportunity we do see is that a switch to digital would bring about a lot of convenience in processing and tracking, as well as accounting for different documentations, as well as processes that Canadians take up. However, the biggest issue this does bring up is that while there would be increased convenience, many of our most frequently used IDs would still remain physical in nature, and it's difficult to find a way to bridge those two gaps together. But there are solutions that have been taken up by other countries, which we will discuss further on. And finally, adoption of a digital ID system has the potential to improve the conveniences, but it still needs a proper implementation from different stakeholders, as well as a firm understanding of the different challenges and risks associated with it. Our proposed solution is to build a unified system that combines both the digital aspects as well as the physical aspects of what an identity entails. And this will also include additional features, including a robust data tracking and sharing technology so that insights from the user's digital searches and identification could be shared with others online. This is something we were discussing further on. In order to improve the security features, the Novatores app, for example, will take up increased implementations for security, including software code signing models, which we will look on, as well as key signing, SI art, and QR codes, which will also play a huge role in implementation. Just to give a background, 34% of those who trust in social media platforms do find that they will keep their accounts secure. 81 to 83% do trust in government financial institutions. 80% of Canadians have taken action, however, to safeguard their personal information online. Importantly, $500 million is lost each year in productivity due to increased need for reliance on manual validation of identity, and this includes physical identification systems. Shockingly, $15 billion to $24 billion is often lost in online wallets due to the death of the account holders, who now have no idea how to pass on these assets to their loved ones. And $9.25 million is the average cost of an investigation or remedial efforts to fight against cybersecurity. What we intend to accomplish with Novatores is to build a unified system that provides unique IDs that combine both physical and digital identification systems, defense against attacks using quantum computing technologies, which we will look ahead, data sharing for those who seem comfortable with using and sharing their IDs online, as well as tracking of their IDs to see exactly what attacks have occurred and what issues have come up, accountability to reduce the dependence on documentations in physical forms, and to help perhaps even the taxation departments to have a better understanding of where these assets are going, and of course, finance. Typical mock-up of a wireframe of what the Novatores system will look like. You will have a personal tab, a protection tab, investments and wallets. Users will be able to connect their IDs, granting one parent ID from which they will be able to build on more specific child IDs, which will allow better tracking. They will also be able to lend in their assets to other individuals while also shielding themselves from any attacks by using quantum computing technologies, by renting some of these implementations from big names such as IBM and Google, and there will be many more implementations. A look across the pond, we've seen so far that there have been many other digital identification implementations in other nations, including a unified digital ID as seen in Ethiopia, the implementation of a techno-neutral jurisdiction that helps in tracking issues against cyber attacks, as well as a federal council that looks at infrastructure protection and cybersecurity. And we feel that these implementations have a lot more advantage in helping Canadian digital users as well. Finally, in order to build upon the security framework of these distributed systems, we have looked into many distributed and relational database management softwares, and we realized that Cassandra and its derivatives that use more distributed frameworks are more useful because they can track in any data as well as any attacks against the systems, and have a far faster response time in letting users know that there is some suspicious activity happening with their accounts. And we see this as being another part of quantum technologies. Again, are quite useful and they have a huge implementation. It's no doubt that quantum signatures have become extremely useful and have a lot of good implementations so far, and have been a key point in investments from many different companies, as you can see from the slide over here. And this again will be another implementation. Leveraging this is going to be quite difficult and also quite complicated, but as part of a unified system and digital ID, it can be made possible. And as you can see, there are many different advantages to this as well, including enhanced security, less hacks, as well as a simplistic system that users. In terms of timelines, we are looking at a prototype build up by June to July, initial tests in August, technology implementation by September, a proper UI and app development by November, and finally deployment by December. To our team, my name is Amardeep Singh, and I would like to thank Azim Jinnah as well in playing a huge role in making this. Our gratitude towards all the different companies and sponsors for this event as well. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you on the final day as we look forward to answering your questions as well as any other doubts with regards to the research that we've taken up. Thank you so much. and wish you the best.